Okay, good evening, guys. Welcome for this first GCI EDC online training. And tonight we begin with the beginning. And the first topic is identity with Henry, EDC Concealer. And then we will share with you some thoughts on growth-focused strategy with EDC Concealer. Emilia, welcome, Henry and Emilia.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
My first question for you is, why every local organization and national organization should have their own identity?
Yeah, actually, it comes down to any organization. It doesn't matter if you're an NGO or a company or whatever, but if you are addressing other people in the society, then you need to have your identity. You need to know who you are, why you exist, what would be missed if you stop existing. But one thing would be definitely that it makes it possible to have a meaningful and sustainable impact in society. This is what JCI is all about. So the identity is kind of the first thing that you need to have to be able to create like bigger changes on the society, and then build a strategy on top of it how to actually gain it. So it's more about long-term thinking. You know, our organizations are running on a one-year lead to a model, and that definitely needs a supportive system on the background. And I think that all starts with an identity. We're going to go through all of the things, how to create the identity, and then why it's actually, how it will help your chapter to go forward. Another thing is that it definitely makes your essence understandable for members, partners, media, and potential new members as well. So when we're talking about creating an identity, then it's basically, it's mission and values combined. So it's combined why we do and what we do. And if you're talking about this, then it's also a part of creating a strong brand. And strong brands always attract the kind of people needed to advance your missions by consistently expressing why you matter. And if you matter, you will attract talented employees who are looking to be part of something more than just money, passionate supporters who will spread the word of what you're doing, committed donors who believe deeply in an organizational potential, and also strategic partners who want to collaborate and advance your cause, the thing that you're doing. So do not create confusion, create a brand. It also clarifies what kind of people you want to have in the chapter, right? You know, what kind of attitudes, values, skill sets, what do they believe in, how they want to contribute to the society, and so on. So these are the reasons why it makes sense. And JCI is not for everyone, but, sorry, JCI is for everyone, but not everyone is for JCI. And we need to find these people who actually would belong into JCI and would belong into your chapter. We have so many chapters in JCI, and it helps you to also differentiate on why people should join your precise chapter. I can maybe give you a really easy example of what we did in our chapter in the beginning of last year. In January, we did a brainstorming event where we just wanted to find solutions to different environmental problems, because our chapter has a mission to change the attitudes of people in Estonia towards the environmental thinking. That wasn't very clear, but you got the idea. So we invited people who were interested about environmental issues, and we got about 20-30 people there sitting down. We mapped down the things that really matter to them in the society, in environment, and we kind of we did this process, and we ended up in a few projects, which then kind of combined most of the members, and we have by now got funding for 2 of these projects, and for one of the projects already second time, and they are really good marketing campaigns again. So we have created another step for our chapter. We got new members from that. We got new projects, and we got also new funding because of just attracting people who are interested about the same topic. And that's because we have an identity. We know that we want to make a change on the sector of environment. And it does make it easier to create a strategy for your chapter. But this is what Emilia is going to be talking about in about 20 minutes time. So finding an identity. It might seem that it is a hell of a lot of job. It might seem that it's difficult, but it's not. I would kind of separate it down that if you're looking at an identity, then you need like two things. You need something which is inward looking, so you need to know the values of the members and the way you want to operate. And then it's the outward looking. It's about looking into the community, the needs of the community, and how you can affect it. So again, from here, mission would be why you do what you do, and the values are how you do what you do. And these two combined is what you can say that is your chapter's identity. So how do you find the values of active members? So what is important to them? You can do it through asking them to map down the SDGs, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which most matter to them. You know, ask them to choose 3 or 5 which are most relate to them, and then you see where you have the matches, which SDGs come up most often, and this is kind of your common values, where you can then go more into deeply and find out what exactly in that SDG your members like, and this is how you find the thing that you want to do together, which is important to all of your members. You can look at the greed and see what clicks in there as well. And again, if you find one element of the greed which is commonly important to all of your members, then just go deeply and try to understand what exactly inside there in your society is what matters to them. And you can also talk about the development areas of their members. Where do they want to be in 10 years' time? What do they want to develop in them as well? Because the chapter is not just creating a positive change in the society, but it's also empowering the members. So offering them development opportunities is very necessary. So if, for example, there are members who are all interested in, I don't know, becoming a public speakers, then this is what you can focus on. All your trainings and everything becomes part of your identity as well. Now you need to look out also your community needs. There are many ways how you can do that. Problems in the community, they stand out. You may have a feeling that these are the problems, but that's not the best way, because this is what we usually do. It's just a bunch of JCs sit down behind the table and, okay, it feels to me that this is a problem, and then you come up with an idea of a project and you start going without actually checking if that is a real problem and if what other people are doing to solve this problem, and what is the root problem and what causes this problem and everything like that. You can find out the problems, for example, asking organizations like KPMG, and other firms like that. They do a lot of surveys, like PricewaterhouseCoopers. They do a lot of surveys. They have an understanding of different issues in your local area or in your country. So you can ask them, maybe they want to be a partner and then provide you the data. And they have really good data. So from there, you can understand that, okay, these are the weak points of the country, and this is where maybe these things relate to our values, and this is where we should look into. You can go to a local government, have a meeting with the mayor or whoever from the local government, and talk about what are the issues, where they are going, what are the problems, is there something with the youth, education, businesses, or whatever. So that's a really concrete way, and this is also creating a partnership already with the local government. Or you can do like some JCs have done as well. When you have a bigger event at your local area, you can go there, set up your booth, and do a survey and ask people, what do they see that is a problem for them? And this is like also making awareness about your chapter, and this is really going out there and being with open to new connections, to getting maybe new members and getting new real ideas and new real feeling of what the people feel that is a problem for them. And if you now address these problems, which are real issues, then you will get more people who want to participate in offering a solution to that as well. I think the last one, when you go actually and ask people, then there you can also ask, if we come up with a solution, would you like to be a part of it? This way you can already create a lot of leads for your potential members as well. Anyway, but there are tons of other ways as well how to do that. You can also, I did this 4 or 5 years ago with my chapter. We sat down and we all imagined a perfect world. And we all had a different understanding of how the world is perfect. And then we started describing it and we wrote everything down, how they see what is, imagining what is the differences between the existing world and their imagined perfect world. And then we found the things which were common, or most common with most of the members. And then from there, we went forward more deeply, and then we found a few things where we wanted to move forward. So imagining the perfect world. I think most of the people usually are going to list education in there, at least in Estonia it was so. Anyways, so this is how you can find the outward-looking identity, meaning the mission of the chapter. So you will find an area which resonates with most of the existing members, that is important to them, an area where they would actually like to contribute their time into. And then it's easy to put it out there and say, okay, these are the people we are looking for. And you will attract the members who feel the same way. Now, there are other values also, talking about how we want to operate and to do, So I would say that this is good to also start with the personal values of your members. There are different online tools to map the values, or you can just do it, when you come together and you just ask people to mark down the values which are really important to them when you're thinking about working together. I think, for example, transparency, fun, honesty, and all these things. And give me an example of also a Southwest Airlines. So they have also like 3 core values based on how they operate. One is work safety. So they follow the standards, and then they identify always the hazards that they have in their working environment. So this kind of part with always identifying them, and then respecting and complying with the regulations. Okay. Second one is wowing their customers, creating the wow effect. So they always deliver a world-class hospitality. They always try to create memorable connections and be famous for a friendly service. And then the third one is keeping costs low. So show up and work hard. Protect our profit sharing and always find a better and more efficient way how to do things. So basically these 3 things is the box with inside the company does its all decisions. Nothing can go against these values. So you can find these values for your own chapter as well. And I'd say that fun is quite important in JCI somehow. So somehow find the fun element as well. So now how you have the values also. And now it comes down in finding a unique selling point, which in other words could be said that it's a focus. Where are you focusing within the mission area, in the area which is relevant to most of your members? You want to focus more into that. So what you need to do, you need to look at the whole picture. So there's always lots of people who are affected by the problem, and there is always lots of organizations, people's movement who are trying to do something so that this wouldn't be a problem. So you need to know exactly who else is contributing to the same issue and how are they contributing, and contact them, have a discussion, and see what are their weak points, and through that you will have some kind of understanding what could be your role in that. And also then talk to the government and see what are their strategic goals in relation in this area, and see again how you could help them and what are they doing. And then you will find some sort of focus point. It doesn't have to be right away something which sticks until the end of the times, because everything is changing, but you have to start from somewhere. We found that our chapter, we want to change the behavior attitudes of people in relation to environmental things. And we found that the best way to do that is through marketing and civil action activities. We have mostly concentrated on creating really top-notch marketing campaigns throughout the last, 12 years and 1 day? No, 13 years and 1 day. So this is what we've been doing. And we have gotten lots of awards for our campaigns and so on. And we have one running now as well. We just started it. So this is how we do. And we attract marketing people to help us with that. All right. So question comes now. If you have your identity, meaning you have your mission, you have your focus, and somebody in your chapter wants to do something which is not in line with the focus, the answer to that is very easy. Just do it. Let them do. Focus doesn't mean that you cannot do anything else. Our chapter, we are also doing a marketing conference for the 4th year already. Nothing to do with the environment. We just do it to make money for the chapter. And what if you don't find all of the above right away? So if you don't find your values, your mission, your focus, or you kind of have it vaguely or something, that's okay. Just start doing things. Start going from somewhere. Our chapter, when we started our chapter, we knew that we want to do something in environmentally related to environment. I think it was maybe on the 7th or 8th year when we understood that it's the attitudes that we want to change. And it was just 2 years ago when we understood, we knew that we wanted to change the attitudes was 6-7 years ago. And then a few years later, we understood that we're going to do it through mostly marketing campaigns. And then 2 years ago, we kind of understood that the focus where we want to go is circular economy. We haven't set it in stone yet. It's kind of there waiting to be kind of locking into the chapter and we could be confirmed. So it's a process where we are at the moment. So our focus is not set in stone yet, but we're on the way there. So don't worry if you don't find everything fast. But in EDC, we have developed a tool so where you can find most of these things kind of at least vaguely in 1 day. And we would love to come and help you with that. So sessions to keep in mind. Always look at the big picture and find your place in it. Think big and start with small steps and be consistent, because you will never ever reach your goals. You will never ever have a real sustainable impact if you're not consistent. And create a process to use your identity for growth. You always need to hack every single element in your activities on the chapter to make sure that it also brings growth to your chapter. So have a growth mindset and experimental mindset. Emilia, floor is yours, and I say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry, for all the tips to create the identity. That's the first part of an amazing local organization, an amazing national organization. I like the just do it. Just do it. You have an idea, you can listen around you, take the idea and do it. That's the main point. Now, Emilia, EDC is about growth, and we know an organization which didn't grow will die at some point. So what is the strategy to be focused on growth?
Yes, that's a good question. And like we heard from Henry, that we need to find the identity first. So the next step is building your growth focus strategy. After you have your strategy, you actually will also build up your roadmap for success. And these 3 steps are something that we in EDC have found out that most of successful organizations, whether they are local organization or national organization, this is what they have in common. They have clear identity, whether they call it identity or focus or their strategy, but they have this sort of a strong identity. They have strategy that also has an element for growth, and also these organizations are actually successful. But so let's go on. Overview. Your average idea of a roadmap. This is probably something how it looks like. Smooth ride, clear milestones, everything works fine. But we all know that in the reality, the road looks more like this. We start with something with wishful thinking, and we end up with actual release. Few hiccups on the way. So for us in EDC, this is our plan for success. First phase, the first month, you build up your identity. You use the tools that, for example, Henry mentioned about finding the values, finding the mission for your organization. Then the second phase is to build on strategy. And of course, the third phase is then the actual plan of action. You start doing things. And this will result your success. This is our strong belief in the European Development Council this year. So, and note that this is only a 3-month process. We tend to have, or we get lost in the process and we use times, weeks, months for this whole process. But actually, if you do it efficiently, you can do it easily in 3 months. And I mean easily. So let's see. So the first one was the building identity. Let's just get an overview on the things what Henry mentioned already. So here you have the elements of the identity, the members' values, your common values, the mission. You have the vision, you have the culture, and you have also identified your ideal member, because this is where the growth comes from. Building the identity. The first milestone you will have, and you have to be sure that you have this. You have your values, you have your mission, and you have your vision. We know who we are, and we know where we want to be. The possible roadblocks that actually happen at this phase is normally that you might have difficulties in engaging your existing members, or that the existing members don't actually share values. And this is then somewhat serious roadblock. But even at this point, it means that you need to do some sort of decision. You need to build a compromise, or you need to build a new direction. But you need to make a decision. This is the first decisions you make. The second phase is where we actually finalize the identity and we start creating our strategy. Your strategy or your chapter will have the identity. It has the clear focus on their tasks, but like Henry said, the focus doesn't mean that you can't do anything else. It just means that the things you do need to be on your focus range. You have your strategy, and then you have your action plan. And once your year or your phase is over, you start rotating again. You look at your identity, you make sure that it's clear for everybody, and you're actually having a culture that supports it. You look at in your focus, and you check your strategy, and then you build again your next year's action plan. Finalizing the identity. Probably the most difficult thing in identity is how to create a culture that supports the identity. You have to think about, how our culture will look like. I can take an example of JCI Finland strategy, which is actually awarded one. The strategy has an element of experimental culture. So what does it mean in real life? Well, it means that the national organization also needs to think about its own action, its own administration, for example, and think that how it can support the experimental and flexible procedures. That how do we do it? If we have a great opportunity, something we want to experiment on, you need to see that, okay, we can't say that, oh, we don't have the money or we don't have the procedures for it. You need to build your actions so that it actually supports it. And then one other important thing, especially in local organizations, how do we create the impact and the added value for membership? Because we all know that members will not be engaged if they don't find anything in it for them personally. So me as a member, I need to gain something from this action, from this group I belong to. So what do we offer? What do we offer our members, and what do we offer for our community? And how will we work? How we will work is a big part of your organization culture. And then in the end, how do others perceive us? The focus. These are elements that Henry already mentioned. What are the governmental strategic goals? What are the trends now? What are our strengths? And who else might be contributing on the same issue? Because this will also help us finding partnerships, but it will also find us helping our unique selling point. And what are actually needed in our community right now. When we start building and creating a strategy, we really need to look into these focus questions. We need to be sure that whatever we are building is something that is needed and is something that will support our impact, and it will support our members' growth, also personally, but also so that it will result the chapter's growth. What is the thing that actually makes us relevant in our own communities? So the strategic process begins. How do we become successful? And what do we need to do in order to be successful? And what kind of partners we need? As we all in JCI, we know that we are here so that we should unite all sectors of society. So we are not to make the impact on our own, but with partners, and whether they are in the community, whether they are governmental partners, or they are business partners, or they are other NGOs. And how will we measure our success? Is it this year that we will have 50% of more members coming in? Or is it that by the end of the year, we will have 100% activity percentage within our members, for example, meaning that each member have engaged into some project or in some event this year. So these key performance indicators are those indicators that actually you create how you build your successful story. So what do you think that makes you successful? So nobody else can tell you what makes you successful but you. So this picture is just an overall an overview of JCI 5-year strategy grid. It's here only to give you an example of how strategy could look like. You have the mission, you have the vision, you have the why we exist. You have your strategic goals, what we want to be. We have the long-term ones, And then we have something that is measurable for each year of the strategy. So what are our measurable goals? And in the end, the strategy is how our goals will be achieved. So what do we do so that we achieve those strategic goals that we have ourselves set for us? And in JCI, this is the overview of the things. So if in your chapter you get stuck in the process that, okay, so how do we do the strategy? How will it look like? If you haven't done it before, or it was maybe outdated some years back, this is an option. This is one model. Use this. It already has important elements. It will guide you to the correct way, but you only need to figure out what it actually means in your local chapter as local actions. And then when you have these main elements here, then you can put in more focus that what is actually the things we will do. And these, yet again, are models. So here you can actually see, these slides will be provided to you, don't worry. These are this is a starting point. So if you don't have anywhere else, start with this strategy model. And once you have finalized your identity and created your strategy, you are at the end of phase 1. You have established an identity, you have a strategy for success. And the possible roadblocks, well, what we've seen and we've experienced is that the existing members don't fit the identity pattern. You have difficulties finding key performance indicators or setting numeric goals. These are obstacles. And yet again, the answer and how to overcome them is to compromise, find solutions, and make a decision. Start with something. It doesn't need to be perfect. You start with something. And then phase 3, the plan of action. As we all know, it's good to have plans. It's good to have the strategy, but without actual actions and something that we're doing, the strategy will just be a piece of paper. And therefore, you need to put focus a little bit on the plan of action you have for each year. We all know that in the plan of action, there are plenty of things we must do. There has to be the annual report. There has to be, we need to have meetings with the board meetings and the decisions to be made. But the actual impactful actions, those we need to put focus on. Because these are also all those things where you offer the development opportunities for your members. So for each year of your strategy, make sure you have a strategic plan of action, that it actually sets your goals for the year. It tells the actions you're going to take. And yet again, this model is just one way of putting it. It's good if you can build your own within your chapter, but if you don't have any idea where to start with this one. And this is actually you just after this short webinar to think through. In your opinion, what does a good strategic plan of action include? And what is currently the state of your plan of action? And is there something that you will take with you to your chapter's meeting, to the discussions? That is there something we could do differently, something that will be take us maybe more in towards growth and having a more impactful actions. After the plan of action, the milestone is that we have the plan of action with clear focus and understanding how to reach growth. And the possible roadblock for this would be that you are actually missing out the actions for development. And yet again, then you just need to revise your plan of action, rethink, regroup, find a solution, or make a compromise, and start doing something. So these are the 3 points along the JCI road. It's the identity, it's the strategy, and it's the plan of action. This is your roadmap for success, and all within 3 months. If you have any questions, you can contact us, Henry or I, and ask more, and we'll be happy to share you more information. Thanks.
And you can leave all the questions also in here when you're watching this in comments as a comment, and then we'll come here and give you the answers as we see the questions.
Yeah, exactly, Henry. Thanks, Emilia. Thanks, Henry, for sharing these tools. You saw, follower, that the EDC this year worked hard on tools about identity, about strategy, and the next online training will be about tools. To the next online training will be on the ACF. But the ACF is the specialty of Emilia. Action, blah, 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 and fire your action. Just do it and give the fire to the action. Then we will speak about health checklist, Henry, because you created a health checklist for local and national organization. Then we will speak about partnership with Olena and how partnership are so important and why they are so important for our organization. And the last but not the least, online training will be live. During the World Congress, we will provide an amazing design thinking workshop, and we will do a Facebook Live during this amazing training. So it will be 2 exciting months. So again, Henry, Emma, thank you for sharing all that stuff with us, and see you next week.
See you.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.